Welcome to Shed the Debt. I'm Patty Lovett-Reed. Today we're going to focus a little differently. We're going to do a deeper dive into some of Canadian businesses and the challenges that they may be facing. I'm joined by Parneet Singh, and he is a Senior Vice President at Goldhar and Associates, and he is involved in dealing with the corporate restructuring group. In fact, he heads it up. So Parneet, thank you for joining us. Can you tell me a little bit about what the corporate restructuring group does?
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and having this discussion with you so we can help the fellow Canadians who are facing challenges with their businesses. So corporate insolvency and restructuring, there's a lot of buzz going on around these words because a lot of businesses are struggling. They are facing challenges out there. And it's no fault of yours. It's essentially the ever-changing business dynamics because change is the only constant out there, right? And there are a lot of things which are simply beyond your control. But there are ways to deal with it. And the more we deal with it in a timely manner, the more beneficial it is for the businesses. And it can give you a great chance at surviving the odds and making it through the rough times.
When you talk about the challenges a business may face, what specifically are you seeing?
Okay, so we deal with a lot of industries with a wide range in terms of their size. We deal with small businesses like the everyday mom and pop shops, the small restaurants just across the street, the larger manufacturing groups who make the things we need at our house on an everyday basis. And we also deal with large real estate developments. So we deal with a wide range of industries and business sizes. And trust me, if you are having difficult times, you're not alone.
Really?
If we talk about something as basic as a restaurant, they are struggling with increased cost of raw materials. They are struggling with the labor costs because they have gone up. They are struggling with finding the right people to do the jobs. And they are struggling with their revenues because after COVID, life seems to have gotten back to normal, but still, it's not the way it used to be. The footfall is just not as much as it used to be. People are going out, but the inflation and the increased cost of living has hit everybody in all parts, and we are all forced to make choices right now. In terms of the choices, for some, it could be dining out less, which is hurting the businesses, right? Because it's expensive to go out with your family and to be spending that sort of money every day or every week. If we talk about larger industries like the real estate developments, people are having difficulties to bring in enough capital to survive or to go through those projects. It's very difficult. The costs have gone up. The cost of construction has gone up like anything. And people just do not have enough purchasing power right now to be buying those things. So all kinds of businesses, they are facing challenges right now. Mm-hmm. It could be different. Right now, people are talking about the tariffs and how it could hit them, how it could affect their particular businesses.
Do you see an escalation in your business if, in fact, that does happen?
It's going to hit everybody. It's not just going to be businesses. It's going to affect us all. Because what essentially a tariff means, it's more like an import fees.
A tax.
It's a tax, which is going to make things expensive for the end user, for the consumer, right? Because the businesses will try to pass it on. And it's going to affect both sides of the border, like the US. If they impose the tariff, things become expensive for people in the United States, the things they are importing from Canada. But a lot of industries have cyclical nature in terms of their goods because we might be exporting some raw materials to United States where they are converted into finished goods and they are imported back to Canada. For example, automobile. Right? That's a huge part of Canadian export to the United States. Now, if there is a tariff imposed on the raw materials, it becomes expensive for the company, for the manufacturer who's importing it into the United States. Their cost goes up. When it comes back to Canada and there is a retaliatory tariff imposed here, the cost goes further up. Plus you add the cost of taxes on over it. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, it's going to become expensive for the end user, for the consumer.
Well, right. And they'll stop buying.
I'm afraid because it's a necessity having a car. You need to move around. You need to have a car here. It's not a luxury anymore. Maybe back in the day, 25, 30 years back, but today it's a necessity for people to move around, to get to their work, to do whatever needs to be done.
So when you think of all of the ramifications, does it make a difference when you're dealing with corporations or small businesses, the size of the company? Like, let's say you're under 5 million, or maybe you're over 5 million.
So the law provides a resolution mechanism for everybody. That's how the law was drafted, and the purpose was to help the honest and unfortunate people out there. The business might be struggling no matter the size, small or large. There is a way to help the businesses. It's all about recognizing your financial difficulties in a timely manner before you go too deep down the.
So then before you go too much further, what are some of those signs that someone could say, this is not a blip, we are in trouble?
Right. So I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of people actually find it difficult to accept the fact that they are going through a difficult financial time. If you are struggling to meet your payroll, that's the first sign of financial difficulties, right? If you have to rely on expensive short-term loans to make your ends meet, you're having financial issues. If it's like a one-time thing, okay, acceptable. But if every second week or if every second month you have to rely on finding those short-term funds, which could be very, very expensive, you're having a financial issue. If you are investing money from your pocket, using your personal lines, using your personal credit cards, just to help the business, and if that goes on for more than a few weeks, you are simply increasing the debt. And the problem is the debt you are incurring now is probably the most expensive form of debt. The interest rates could be ranging anywhere from 10% to 30%. And before you realize, you will be in a situation where you are only paying off the interest and you are never able to get to a point where you are repaying the principal debt.
Right.
If you take more than 6 to 8 weeks to realize the fact and to accept it, you are simply putting yourself into a deeper debt problem, because you keep borrowing more money to make your ends meet. The principal debt is adding up. You're not creating any assets out of those debts. You are simply meeting your expenses, which should have otherwise been met from your business revenues, right? Now, it's very important that you talk to a professional. There's a lot of licensed insolvency trustees out there who specialize in this particular area, in helping you assess the financial viability of your business and to provide you solutions who are tailored to suit your particular needs.
But what holds them back from doing that?
One possible reason is the lack of awareness, because when people are having financial issues, they try to keep it to themselves because of the social pressures.
Right.
They don't want their friends or their family to find out that they are going through a rough time. They don't want their children to find out that they are going through through a tough time. And what happens is they generally go to their accountant or to a friend they know for advice. Now, the friend may have some experience dealing with a difficult financial situation, but they are not professionals. You need to understand that you are just trying to save yourself a few dollars by not getting financial advice, but that would be money well spent, because if you can get timely advice, you can actually save and revive your business.
So there is life after coming to see a licensed insolvency trustee.
Yes, absolutely. Because a lot of people fear that a licensed insolvency trustee, his only job is to put people into bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And that's something which actually scares people off. They don't want the tag or the stigma of, being a bankrupt. In many cultures, it's just not acceptable, right? So they need to understand that the job of a licensed insolvency trustee is not to just help you with the bankruptcy process, but it is also the larger part of the practice is to help businesses with their revival, with the turnaround strategies. Now, you asked me about, about the smaller companies with debts less than 5 million, the larger companies with debts more than $5 million. So there's a resolution mechanism for everybody. Now, the first thing a trustee would do when you walk into a trustee to see them is they would help you assess the financial viability of your business. Mm-hmm. They would look at your business, understand your business dynamics, how you're making the money, where you're spending the money you're making, and they will help you identify the inefficiencies in the business that you can actually improve upon and make yourself profitable again, right? When we are too deeply involved with businesses, so sometimes it's very hard for us to see things which are right in front of us because we've been doing it for so long, we've accepted that it's right, but it may not be right for you, right? Maybe for me, but may not be right for your business. So the trustee will help you identify those problem areas and will give you the solutions to improve upon that. If you still need help, there are legal processes like a Division 1 proposal, which is there for the businesses. A proposal will let you stay in charge of your business. It allows you the opportunity to continue operating the business while at the same time giving you an opportunity to settle the insurmountable debt because you are no longer in a position to meet the debt. Your business is generating cash. It's just not enough to pay off your liabilities in full.
And the only person who can balance everyone's interests is a licensed insolvency trustee this way.
Absolutely, because the trustee is more a representative of the law, of the court, and a trustee's duty is to balance the interest of all the stakeholders. Mm-hmm. Now, if a debtor comes in to see a trustee, the debtor might be paying the professional fees for the trustee, but they need to understand that the trustee's responsibility is not only towards the debtor. It is towards everybody, towards all the stakeholders, and to make sure the debtor gets a resolution that is fair and reasonable, and at the same time, all the creditors get a recovery or a realization which is fair and reasonable to them as well. The process cannot be one-sided, and it is a big part of the trustee's job to be fair and impartial, to provide the advice that's best for you while keeping in mind that it has to balance the interest of all the stakeholders in the system.
Parneet, when we were talking a few minutes ago, and it just dawned on me, we were talking about people who have debt under $5 million, and you called it a Division 1. What happens if you have over $5 million in debt? That seems like a huge amount.
Right. So there is a separate law that was introduced to provide an additional resolution mechanism for larger corporations or businesses having debts of more than $5 million. Now, when we spoke about the Division 1 proposal, there is no amount or threshold that defines or that is applicable for a Division 1. Like your debt could still be over $5 million and you can go through a Division 1 proposal. Okay. But a Division 1 proposal has a lot of legal guidelines and regulations built into the law to make sure that the process runs smoothly and a well-defined manner. Now, sometimes the businesses, they may find it difficult to comply with the timelines or with the strict guidelines that define a Division 1 proposal. To allow more flexibility to larger corporations who may have a unique situation for them, to address those unique situations, a special law was enacted, which is called the Companies Creditors Arrangement Act, which is more popularly known as the CCAA, to help the larger corporations and to allow them more flexibility when they are, when they are creating a resolution process for themselves. The process is mostly court-driven, and the law allows a lot of flexibility in terms of how or what kind of resolution process you want to create. You are not bound by the timelines as stringently or as strictly as you are in a Division 1 proposal, because the courts have been granted a lot of discretion in terms of what should be allowed and what should not be allowed. You can get creative with the solutions that you're coming up with. It's not restricted to just making a proposal or an offer to your creditors that instead of maybe paying you out in full, I'm going to pay you 60 cents on a dollar or maybe 70 cents because that's what your cash flow supports. So that allows them more flexibility in terms of carving out the viable portions of the business, in terms of how the sale transaction can be structured, how under the court's guidance, the process can be balanced to make sure each and every stakeholder is, taken care of and they are not worse off than what they should have been. So there's a special provision that, yes, allows larger businesses to take control of how the process is to be run.
What is your advice to anyone in a small business or larger business that you want them to take away from our conversation?
So friends, if there is any signs of stress that you have identified in your business, I believe it's worth having a conversation with a licensed insolvency trustee. You may not need the help immediately, but it will at least give you an idea of what you need to look out for in the future and when would be the appropriate time or the appropriate process for you to address whatever financial issues you are facing with your business.
Thank you, Parneet.
Thank you so much.
I've been joined by Parneet Singh. He is head of corporate restructuring at Goldhar & Associates. See you next time.